Hello, Unity of the Westside. I will read the daily word for today, Sunday, March 14th, 2021, with permission from the publisher of the daily word. The daily word for today is energy. The energy of divine life renews me. How do I have focus to achieve my goals? How do I have the strength to carry on through challenging times? How do I have the aptitude to learn, grow, and change when I'm called to do new things? At the heart of everything I'm called to do is the energy to do it. I am a divine being, and I call upon the power of God within me to channel my energy in deliberate ways. Divine energy is inexhaustible. Unlike my muscles, which can tire, and my mind, which can feel frazzled, the power of God within flows through me unimpeded. In prayer, I claim divine energy and imagine it flowing through me with the force of a mighty waterfall. I am grateful for my renewal. And from Isaiah 40, 30, 31, even youth will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. And so it is. This is the daily word.
Good morning, Unity of the West Side. My name is Carol Scotta, and I'm the spiritual leader at Unity of the West Side. We're located in Culver City, California, and hopefully in June we'll be reopening at the church. But today, wherever you're watching us from, we bless you and we hold you as part of our loving spiritual community. We welcome you and we love you as God loves you. Today I want to talk about a certain spiritual practice. Now, I have many spiritual practices. I pray a lot. Sometimes I pray in an organized and structured way. Other times, when I say I love you or I declare divine order, well, that's a prayer too. I pray without ceasing. I meditate as a spiritual practice, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. I journal, and I write denials and affirmations for myself. You can come over to my house. They're all over the place here. And finally, I practice forgiveness. Now, I read an interesting article by a friend who spoke at Unity of the West Side several times, Reverend Bill Engelhardt. You know, Reverend Karen's guy. And I wanted to give them a shout out because I love Reverend Bill and Reverend Karen. Some of this talk is based on that article. Now, I call these spiritual practice because we need to do them over and over and over again. You know, practice makes perfect. Forgiveness is the act of releasing ourselves from the bondage of an ongoing negative connection. Have you ever experienced a negative ongoing connection? I have. Maybe you didn't even realize it until you got away from that other person or that situation. And then, aha, you feel lighter and less intense without them. They were there in your space, giving off their energy to you, and you were there taking it all in. Forgiveness resurrects our peace of mind from the feelings of victimhood, and it allows us to release our negative judgments. I forgive pretty easily just by my nature. Used to drive my ex-husband crazy. So we would have a disagreement or a fight or whatever you want to call it, a heated argument. And I would state in my very Italian way why I was upset. And once I knew I was heard, poof, I'm over it. Are we going to breakfast now? I need pancakes. He would roll his eyes, and he never really got comfortable with how fast I was over it. I tend to forgive others quickly and completely, except for myself. Now, that girl, I drag her through the muck and the mire of my worst thoughts about myself. I take a lot of that to prayer and meditation. And I find that lately especially, I'm kinder to myself when I'm in an elevated state of consciousness. I share this with you because, as always, I want you to understand that I am a work in progress. Maybe you are too. We forgive others to get our footing back from rocky emotional terrain. When done, it can be an exquisite joy in our lives. When we follow Jesus' teaching in the Lord's Prayer, we have the elevated consciousness and say, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." We say it, we sing it. We forgive others as we sometimes need forgiveness for ourselves. Now, when done, we throw off the shackles and the chains of this negative and sometimes toxic connection. Forgiveness, just like peace, just like love, I've talked about this before, forgiveness starts with me, and it's a gift we give ourselves. I went through a class called The Eye of the Storm. Now, while going through it, I had an ongoing issue with one of my family members. And I was encouraged by the class that I had just been through and the information that I had learned, and by the minister, who I greatly respected, to reach out and write a letter of forgiveness and send it to that person. Now, I prayed and I wept and I ran myself through emotions and prayed some more, and then I poured my heart out with love for this person. I sent it off knowing that I had shown up as pure love, and for almost a month I heard nothing back. Finally, I received a response. It was not a loving letter. It was quite cruel and mean in tone, and the words that were used. For a week or so, I was numb. But then something happened to me. I was at a fork in the road. Ever had those moments when you just know you can go one way or you can go the other? I could pick up the anger again, or I could let it be. I had already forgiven them when I wrote all those loving things. This hate, this vile, had nothing to do with me or anything that I had done. I chose to let it be road. We don't have to condone anyone's bad behavior or trust those that mistreat us. We just don't have to give it power and the energy that I once gave this person. My friends, this is the gift of the spiritual work of forgiveness. Finally, I was able to release myself from the negative connection and the power that I had given this person over me. Years have passed, and now I have a polite and distant relationship with the person. But I had made my mind up to let it be and to forgive, to let go of all the negative. I couldn't carry the anger and the hate any longer. And if that's where they are, then that's where they are. I accept that. But this is an important part. In that person's presence, I am love for them. I am good to them. I do for them. I am for them in every way possible, especially in my prayers and in my thoughts. H. Emily Cady tells us in Lessons in Truth, to forgive doesn't simply mean to arrive at a place of indifference to those who do personal injury to us. She said it means far more than this. To forgive is to give to give some actual definite good in return for evil given. The fire smoke. I am love. I am forgiveness. I am giving good for the person. I have forgiven. I could not judge how they perceived me. I had myself in check, and I was doing my best. And the best part was the lightness that I still feel around this person today. It just isn't the energy that it once was. Jesus was once asked, how often should one forgive? 7 times? From Matthew 18:22 tells us not 7 times, but I tell you 70 times 7. And forgiveness can be infinite. Jesus was telling us that. When we're living our spiritual life from inside to outside, forgiveness must start within us. And I don't know about you, but I have a lot of silly and ignorant things that I've done in my past that I could use some good old forgiveness for. Who needs to give that? Myself and possibly others, but myself first. I must work with my Christ consciousness, the I am, to go within and find not just forgiveness, but love and acceptance and more love and then forgiveness. Once I've established it within me, I can release it and become or be. I can be forgiveness and acceptance and love in the world. People who I respect have taught me about forgiveness. Nelson Mandela's name is synonymous to forgiveness. This great man, he will be remembered having lived and died loving and forgiving. Mandela said this: forgiveness liberates the soul. It removes fear. That's why it's such a powerful weapon. Now, another example of forgiveness is the late Pope John Paul II. He rode past a crowd in an open car in 1981, and Mehmet Ali Agca shot him 4 times in an assassination attempt, seriously wounding the Pope. Pope John Paul II nearly died. He underwent emergency surgery at a hospital to save his life, and then he slowly recovered. 2 years later, the Pope visited Agca in his prison cell and let him know that he had forgiven him. This Catholic leader clasped Agca's hands, the same hands that pointed the gun at him and that had pulled the trigger. He clasped those hands on his own as the 2 men talked. And when the Pope rose to leave, Agca shook hands with him. Take that in. After emerging from the prison cell, the Pope said that he spoke to the man who had tried to kill him as a brother, whom I have pardoned. Take that in. I've been lately reading a book by Edith Eger called The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life. Her other book was called The Choice. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Edith, but she is a native of Hungary, and she's also a Holocaust survivor, sent to Auschwitz at 16, where her parents were gassed to death the day the family arrived in 1944. Now, she couldn't talk about the horrors of the Nazi concentration camp for years and decades after. This book has some great lessons that she learned in her wonderful, beautiful, kind, forgiving life. She's a clinical psychologist based in La Jolla, California, and she's still seeing patients. She's a great grandmother, and she has a 96-year-old boyfriend, and they love swing dancing. But she tells us that favorite pastime has slowed down a bit because, well, his legs are just not keeping up at 96. She tells us this: times are changing, and we're changing with the times. We aren't stuck in the past or stuck in our old patterns and our old behaviors. We're here now, in the present, and it's up to us what we hold on to and what we let go of and what we reach for. Psalm 32:5. Then I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Just as God forgives us our missing the mark, that's what we call sin in unity, it's missing the mark. Just as God forgives us, we must try to forgive as one of our spiritual practices. Today, we have a special, beautiful gift in the song written and performed by Tim Batic. He talks about struggle and resistance of self-love and forgiveness. Now, the way the Bible talks about blood can sound pretty odd to us today. But when you dig into the way Jesus spoke of his blood, you learn that God was bringing us into a permanent and loving relationship with himself through the death of Jesus. That's what Jesus promised. Our affirmation today is, I am letting go of all the negative things in my life. I forgive myself and others freely as I am forgiven. Let's say that again. I am letting go of all the negative things in my life. I forgive myself and others freely as I am forgiven. I am letting go of all the negative things in my life. I forgive myself and others freely as I am forgiven. The truth is, we are all one. So I want you to let me know if this talk spoke to you today. Was there any part of it that spoke to you? And tell me in the comment section, because I look forward to hearing from you. What I really look forward to is being back in person in June so that I can see your faces and see you nodding when I'm doing a good job. Write me a note today. But until then, talk to me. Let me know what you're thinking about forgiveness. Until next time, namaste.
Hello, Unity family. In a moment, I'm going to perform a song that I wrote about 25 years ago called Paint, that I used to perform with my band called The Dichotomy. In about the past 20 years, I probably haven't performed this song maybe more than 3 or 4 times, and I've never done the song actually with just voice and solo piano, but I thought I would try to do that this way for the first time, and share with you this song because I thought it was appropriate for the subject matter what Carol was talking about. However, I also want to give it a little bit of a disclaimer that with the lyrics of this song, so people understand. At the time I wrote the song, I was doing a lot of scriptural reading and study, and so a lot of my songs had a lot of scriptural allusions in them. And in this particular song, the lyric in the 3rd verse is, "I give up, it's no use, I might as well be dead. The only paint that can cover me is shade of bloody red." I want people to understand that this was not a suicidal thought. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is the concept that Paul discusses in his letter to the Romans around the 7th chapter. He talks about the fight between the human nature and the divine and the battle. And that in the end, he says, he basically kind of throws his hands up and says, "Who will deliver me from this body of death?" And of course, then he talks about in the 8th chapter, the sacrifice of Christ being the thing that covers us. And so that's what this song is about, or that's what this song is about, and that's what that lyric is about. But I wanted people to really understand so they doesn't cause anybody to struggle or to trigger anybody for that matter. Anyway, this song called Paint. I also wanted to give a special shout out to my guitar player, Adam Cameron, who actually wrote the guitar solo in this. Now, I'm playing it on piano tonight, but it's a beautiful solo that he wrote in the middle of the song, and I just wanted to give him a shout out as well. So, thank you, and enjoy the song. Scratch the surface, a coat of shiny paint. It can't cover what is hidden underneath a human saint. One step away from a bitter slimy past, one word away, true colors show so fast, bleeding through from underneath what I was from all to see. I can't ever make these changes on my own. Twisted in vines I planted from the seeds my hands have sown. The closer I get to you, the more I can really see how far from you I really am. Why would you die for me? Cracked and peeling, look closely now, the wear marks show right through. I try to paint another coat to try to hide from you. One step away from a bitter slimy past, one word away, true color shows so fast, bleeding through from underneath what I was for all to see. I can never make these changes on my own. Twisted in vines I planted from the seeds my hands have sown. The closer I get to you, the well be dead. The only pain that can cover me, a shade of bloody red. One step away from a bitter slimy past, one word away, two colors show so fast, bleeding through from underneath. When I was for all to see, I can never make these changes on my own. Twisted in vines I've planted from the seeds my hands have sown. The closer I get to you, the more I can really see how far from you I really am. You, why would you die for me?